The air hung heavy with the smell of Mom's lasagna. It was Tuesday, 7:02 p.m., standard family dinner time. My little sister Lily, mashed potatoes on her plate, her face illuminated by the flickering TV screen. Dad, in his usual spot at the head of the table, chuckled at some sitcom joke. The normalcy was almost sickening. Our house, a beige rectangle with a perfectly manicured lawn, was the epitome of suburban American life. It was the kind of place where nothing interesting ever happened, or so I thought. Looking back, I realized the normalcy was just a facade, a thin veil hiding the darkness that lurked beneath. We were a typical family. Mom, the ever-patient teacher, always had a smile on her face. Lily, the annoying but lovable little sister, just wanted everyone to get along. And Dad, well, Dad was the man of the house, the provider, the protector, or so we thought. That night, as I shoved another bite of lasagna into my mouth, I had no idea that our world was about to implode. I had no clue that the man I called Dad was about to transform from a loving father into a monster. The changes were subtle at first. A forgotten birthday, a missed dinner, a vacant stare across the dinner table. Dad, normally the life of the party, grew quiet, withdrawn. He traded his usual hearty laugh for a nervous twitch of his lips. His once bright eyes, the ones that always twinkled with mischief and warmth, turned cold and distant like a shark circling its prey. He would spend hours locked in his study, muttering to himself, the faint scent of whiskey wafting from under the door. "He's just stressed," Mom would say, her voice strained, trying to convince herself more than us. But we all felt it, the shift in the atmosphere, the palpable tension that hung in the air like a thick fog. The man who used to throw us in the air, who taught me how to ride my bike, who told the worst dad jokes with a twinkle in his eye, was gone. In his place was a stranger, a ghost, haunting the shell of the man we once knew. We tiptoed around him, careful not to set him off. The slightest noise, a misplaced word, a dropped fork could send him into a rage. His outbursts were terrifying, filled with vitriol and venomous words that stung like acid. Lily would hide in her room, her small frame trembling with fear. Mom, her face etched with worry, would try to talk to him, to reason with him, but her words were met with a cold stare, a dismissive wave of his hand. Dinner, once a time for laughter and shared stories, became an exercise in anxiety. We ate in silence, our eyes darting nervously between each other, dreading the moment the facade would crack, and the monster within would resurface. The whispers started low, hushed conversations behind closed doors. The word doctor was uttered, but it was quickly silenced. Dad wouldn't hear of it. He wasn't sick, he insisted. He was just going through things. The things he was going through escalated quickly. The muttering in his study turned to shouting. The clinking of bottles grew louder. The smell of alcohol permeated the house. He started seeing things, shadows lurking in the corners, voices whispering his name. "They're watching me," he'd hiss, his eyes darting around the room. "They're plotting against me." We tried to tell him there was no one there, that it was all in his head, but he wouldn't listen. He was too far gone. One night I woke to the sound of crashing coming from downstairs. My heart pounded in my chest as I crept down the hallway, peering cautiously around the corner. The living room was in shambles. Furniture was overturned, lamps shattered, family photos lay scattered on the floor, their glass frames spiderwebbed with cracks. In the center of the chaos stood my father, a wild look in his eyes, a hammer clutched in his hand. Section 5. The breaking point. The hammer. It was the tool he used to fix things, to build things, to protect us. Now it was an instrument of destruction, a symbol of his descent into madness. My mother lay on the floor, her body contorted at an unnatural angle, her eyes staring blankly at the ceiling. Blood pooled around her, staining the carpet a sickening shade of crimson. Lily, my sweet, innocent Lily, cowered in the corner, her eyes wide with terror. "Daddy, please," she whimpered, her voice trembling. But her pleas fell on deaf ears. He advanced on her, the hammer raised high above his head. I wanted to scream, to run, to do something, anything to stop him. But my feet were rooted to the spot, my voice caught in my throat. The sickening thud of the hammer connecting with her skull echoed through the house, a sound that would forever be seared into my memory. He turned towards me then, a grotesque parody of a smile on his blood-stained lips. "Don't worry, son," he rasped, his voice thick with madness. "You're next." Adrenaline surged through me, snapping me out of my stupor. I bolted, racing down the hallway, my bare feet slapping against the hardwood floor. I could hear him lumbering behind me, his heavy footsteps shaking the house. I threw open the front door and sprinted into the night, the cool air stinging my lungs. I didn't dare look back. I didn't need to. I could hear his maniacal laughter echoing behind me, a chilling reminder of the horror I had just witnessed. I ran until my legs burned, until my lungs screamed for air, until the only sound I could hear was the frantic beating of my own heart. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I couldn't stay there. Not anymore. The following days were a blur. The police, the sirens, the flashing lights, the hushed whispers, the sympathetic looks. It was all too much. I shut down, retreating into myself, unable to process the enormity of what had happened. I was placed in foster care, a stranger in a strange home. They were kind, but they weren't my family. They could never replace the family that had been ripped away from me. The nightmares started almost immediately. My parents, their faces twisted in pain and fear, Lily's terrified whimpers, the sickening thud of the hammer. I would wake up in a cold sweat, my heart pounding, the echo of their screams ringing in my ears. Therapy helped a little. It gave me a safe space to talk, to try to make sense of the senseless. But the scars ran deep, etched into my soul, a constant reminder of the night my life changed forever. They say time heals all wounds, but some wounds are too deep, too raw, to ever truly heal. I carry the scars of that night with me always. They are a part of me, woven into the fabric of my being. I still have nightmares. I still flinch at sudden noises. I still see their faces in the crowd, hear their voices in the wind. But I'm learning to live with the pain, to find a way to move forward. I'm not sure what the future holds, but I know one thing. I will never forget them. I will carry their memory with me always, a reminder of the love that was lost, and the strength I found within myself to survive.